Paul Maynard.
Thank you, Mr Deputy Speaker. It's a pleasure to speak in this very important debate, and I pay tribute to the Honourable Member for Aberdeen South and the Speaker's panel as a whole for putting this report together. And I do note, as many have done, that since it was published, we've had a general election that has seen a more diverse Parliament arise. And I've listened carefully to some of the concerns expressed about what might happen in 2015. And I have to say, I don't share those concerns. I have tremendous respect for the Labour Party as an institution. I've never attended a single Labour Party meeting. I pray to God I never will. But it's a very different organisation to this side of the House. Culturally, a very different attitude. I think it's very fair to say that what works on that side, I don't think will work on this side. I love the Conservative Party dearly, but I sometimes think that with regard to candidate selection, it's rather a push me, pull you. The more you try to tell them what to do, the more they will rebel against it. And as the Honourable Member for Windsor made quite clear, there has been an immense sea change at the 2010 election on this side of the House. I don't think we will go backwards, because we are an evolutionary party, and the changes occur very gradually, and then suddenly, whoosh, it all changes much more rapidly. So I have much more confidence. Now, I am reluctant to serve up cold maiden speeches from 2 years ago, so I won't. But I sort of made a point in that maiden speech that what I wanted to try to do as a member here wasn't to dwell on my physical disabilities, my cerebral palsy, my epilepsy, but I was conscious of the fact that whether I liked it or not, I would end up as a role model. And that has certainly been the case. And many people have come to me asking that they want to get more involved in public life more generally. I think that's a fundamental aspect that's been missed in this debate so far. It isn't just about getting more diverse members of this House. I was at a radar reception at Downing Street, and I paid tribute to the work radar are doing in this field, that they wanted more leaders in public life as a whole, not just in this chamber. And it's vitally important that we have more diverse people acting as councillors, because they are the people who will be acting as the selection panels, who will be selecting our successors and our candidates. So by broadening the political base, we're actually contributing, in my view, to broadening the membership here. I noticed in particular one thing that I would like to echo the member for East Dunbartonshire, which is on the issue of Section 141 of the Mental Health Act. People might think this is a rather abstruse measure, you know, a small print in legislation, just something to tidy up at some point. I actually think it's fundamental, and it's actually, I'm becoming stronger in that view the longer I go on, because I'm one of 2 MPs who have announced in the chamber that they have epilepsy. This is the first Parliament where we've had MPs who have been open about their epilepsy, because in the past people have been very concerned to talk about it for reasons I never quite understood. But because myself and my colleagues, Honourable Member for South Sandwich, have been able to talk about it, we've actually seen more rapid change in government attitudes to epilepsy. And I've been surprised when I've spoken in Westminster Hall debates about my own personal experiences, not just of epilepsy, but of speech therapy, cerebral palsy, and all sorts of other issues that my own life gives me a unique perspective on, that other members of the House have come up to me afterwards and said, that was a really useful contribution you made. It struck me as utterly unexceptional. I'm just filling time in the parliamentary schedule, as it were. But others actually thought, that was fantastic, that was wonderful. It is actually makes a difference, that if more people are able to talk about their experiences, we improve policy. And I think that echoes the lady, the Honourable Member for Salford and Eccles point, I think. I would like to finish, though, on what I consider to be... Sorry, yes, and we'll give way.
I thank my honourable friend for taking the intervention. He raised a very important point about our contribution of all communities, diverse communities, and public life as a whole. I was involved in running the cross-government diversity programme for increasing contributions from all communities on our public boards. Would he, however, agree that the focus has to stay on increasing diversity in Parliament? Our Parliament, actually, according to the Inter-Parliamentary Union, ranks 49th, joint 49th in the world of women in Parliament, and that what we must all do as parties is maintain our goal to be a greater representation in Parliament, representative of Britain as a whole.
I thank the Honourable Lady for that thoughtful contribution. I go back to what I said earlier, that I think it's for each party to find its own path towards the greater diversity that we all wish to see. We on this side will have our path. She will no doubt, and her party, have their path. But we do want to all get to the same destination, in my view. But my bigger concern is that in 10 years' time, we won't be having a speakers panel on getting a more representative Parliament. We will actually be having a speakers panel on getting a Parliament of the people who aren't independently wealthy. Because my big fear is that what is really happening in politics at the moment is that people from ordinary backgrounds, like me, who struggle to fund their own campaigns, who struggle to make ends meet, and I'm not trying to say that I'm poor by any means, given the salary I am on, but nonetheless, as a candidate who lost his job before the election, who wasn't quite sure what to do, it was a genuine struggle to make ends meet. Thank God I had a credit card. But we have a problem that increasingly there will come a time where, unless you are of independent means, unless you have made your money before you choose to go into politics, politics will not be a practical option for you. No matter what your family circumstances are, no matter what your skills are, no matter what minority you might seek to represent or what political party you represent, we will actually have a much narrower democracy. That's why I welcome the apprenticeship scheme the Honourable Lady was talking about earlier. It's something I'm trying to do desperately in Blackpool, to actually explain to people why Parliament is relevant to them, why I want schools to come down. I'm delighted that next week I'm getting my first primary school down here in Westminster from the constituency. At last, it's been a battle, but they're starting to come down. Like the Honourable friend member from Milton Keynes South, I go around the schools trying to explain what it is I do. And I get more pleasure out of my politics every time somebody comes up to me and says, I would never dream of voting for you, can't stand your party, but I like what you're doing as a human being. And that, to me, I think is the most crucial thing of all, that I want the general public to see in their MPs people that they feel are actually just like them. That, to me, is the most crucial thing of all. Yeah.